7 o'clock, the meeting will come to order. I'm Grace Lesbrance, Cascade Township Supervisor. Clerk Slater, please call the roll.
Trustee Nordhook.
Here.
Trustee McDonald.
Here.
Supervisor Lesbrance.
Here.
Treasurer Pierce.
Here.
Trustee Kessel.
Here.
Trustee Shipley.
Present.
Clerk Slater here.
Thank you. Please rise if possible for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion or discussion for approval of the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda. Support.
It's a motion by Trustee Shipley, supported by Trustee Kessel to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Article 4, presentations. We have representatives from the Kent District Library tonight to present their annual report. Welcome.
Thank you. I do want to apologize for Trustee Myers. Charles Myers is the trustee who represents Cascade. He destroyed his knee and he sends his regrets. He is incapacitated. So yeah, anyway, yeah, so my apologies about that. Well, I'm Lance Werner. I'm the director of the Kent District Library. I'm so glad to be here this evening with all of you. I want to begin by thanking you for your service. And I want to thank you for your friendship and your support. We couldn't do what we do without your support and without your friendship. We consider Cascade and all the municipalities that we serve as part of the family, and we're here for you. 2020, unsurprisingly, was a hard year at Kent District Library, just like it was a hard year for all of you. And we managed to make it through. The governor did shut us down for a time, but we managed to stay busy. We got caught up on all of our training. We got our collection all cleaned up. And one of the things that was really cool is that you can't keep a good librarian down. Our librarians actually got online on social media and did a lot of programming online. And we almost had 500,000 people tune in because we recognized that a lot of kids were at home and a lot of people were stuck at home. And we wanted to make sure we could do everything we could do to help them keep up with their literacy endeavors. So we were really glad to do that. We also picked up a bunch of Wi-Fi hotspots. I think we have about 1,300. We just got 250 more with federal grant dollars because we recognized then, as we recognize now, that a lot of people, especially when we were closed, had to use our service remotely, and a lot of kids had to go to school remotely, and a lot of kids are still going to school remotely. So we dispersed the hotspots, and they were primarily available in rural areas that didn't have good broadband access. Unsurprisingly, our ebook collection was well utilized during the pandemic while we were closed, and our digital circulation went up 31%. And then actually our talking book and braille collection, since we are the regional provider for library services for the blind and physically handicapped, went up 38%. So that service was well utilized too. And during the pandemic, there's such a phenomenon, it's called summer food insecurity. And in a lot of impoverished areas, the only good meal that kids get during the day is at school. And so during the summer, they don't get those meals. And so there's food insecurity. So previously we had partnered with Feeding America to provide food for kids in the summer. Well, in 2020, it was just plain old food insecurity. And so we partnered with Feeding America to deliver meals. And that was a really popular program because we recognize that kids that have full stomachs are much better positioned to learn and get benefit from the services that we offer. And we want to do whatever we can do to pick people up. And it was a tough year, but we made it through. We're glad to be open. We're back to usual hours. We have in-person programming. We're hitting the ground running, and we're ready to continue our work on tackling the third grade reading problem. And we're just so proud to serve this community, and we want to be here for everyone. And then finally, we're kind of proud, not to brag, but we just got named as being one of the top resources for entrepreneurs by the Grand Rapids Business Journal. So we're here to support the entire community, proud to do it, and we love you guys. And with that, I'll turn it over to the true superstar of the show, Vanessa Wallstra, who is our fantastic regional manager, and is doing a heck of a job, and we're sure proud of her. So with that, Vanessa, and then after that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Vanessa Wallstra. I'm the branch manager here at Cascade and also at the Caledonia branch. It's a pleasure again to have served the community for the last year and a half since we came back here before. I was trying to think through the things that we were kind of proudest of locally that we did over the pandemic. And I have my top three to share with you tonight. The first was curbside services. We did not have a curbside service prior to the shutdown, and we didn't really have a budget to create one during the shutdown. So we did we had phones. That's what we had. We had phones and we made signs. And so we rearranged our entire service model to allow people before we opened up again to be able to pick up their materials, both their holds. We set up browsable things that we could bring out to them at the curb. We had other kind of crafts and things like that we did that we brought to families and to adults. And we just tried to engage with the community as much as we possibly could. We sent personal notes to many of our regular people who we knew were alone in their homes, and really relied on the library to feel like they had personal connections, and got very good feedback from that. Many people told us that our curbside service was essentially a lifeline for them during the pandemic, and we were very, very proud to be able to provide it. Also, Cascade was literally head and shoulders above the rest of of our townships and municipalities in wanting to use it. And so there were times when we had up to 14 or 15 cars waiting for us to bring out their items. And so we got our steps in for sure when we were closed. The second thing that we were really excited about that we got to do this year that was really specifically pandemic related, but it has possibilities beyond the pandemic, was we were able to partner with the Forest Hills Public Schools. They have something called the Sora app. It's an ebook and e-audiobook platform that educators use, and it is compatible with the ebook and e-audiobook platform that KDL uses. And so we were able to partner with the schools to make our ebook and e-audiobook collection available to the students throughout Forest Hills Public Schools, which was a fantastic opportunity for us to get more pleasure reading in the hands of kids, especially kids who had more limited library services, both in school and out. So we were very, very pleased that we were able to provide those things. Many kids talk to us about the fact that they love that there are sample chapters that they can have. A lot of kids don't know exactly what they like to read. They can get those at any time. And they also liked the ease with which you could turn the pages with just a finger. They said it provided them the opportunity to have a book and not get tired holding it. So we enjoyed that too. And the third thing, many of you were at the dedication of the Marianne Robinson Aquarium. We were able to install that this year, and it's been a real highlight for parents and students and little kids to enjoy, and many adults who just come and sit and enjoy watching the fish swim. It was an opportunity for us to connect with some community members who gave years of their lives, many, many hours and many dollars to this community, and to really honor them. So that was a real positive thing. We are so excited to have kids back in the library. We're so excited to have our programming started. And just to leave you with something to make you smile, we had a kiddo yesterday who was playing with our toys that are back out again. And one of our staff member came up to them and talked with them and asked them what they were doing. And as the staff member walked away, the little kiddo said, "I made her come talk to me because I'm cute." And we said, "That's right. He was very cute, and he brought us, he lured us in with his cuteness." So we were very, very happy to have people back in, and it's a real pleasure to partner with you to provide those services. So we're very thankful for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have questions.
Okay.
Lance or Vanessa, either one. Ada just opened up a brand new library. And one thing that we don't want to do is be like the Joneses and the Smiths, always trying to outdo each other. I'm pretty sure that you guys have probably got coordination so that you don't have duplication of programs between us and them.
There's going to be some overlap. I mean, they're going to do early childhood programming. We're going to do early childhood programming here, but the nature of the programs will be different.
Okay.
Because the people that are designing the programs are in different branches and they're individuals, and they have put their own spin on it. I mean, just in general, I mean, we'll have business programs. There'll be business programs here and there'll be business programs there, but there's business programs in all of our branches. But each program kind of is more representative of the community, and each of them reflects the kind of the personality of the person who's designing the program. So there's a uniqueness to each of them.
Okay, Great.
We also try to have, to coordinate that we're not offering necessarily the same program on the same day, so that we don't feel like we're in competition with them, that people can go to different places on different days.
Work it into their own schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
For Ada, I will just say for Ada, I don't need to, you had your hand up, didn't you? I'm so sorry. The goal for Ada was to provide service to the folks of Ada, of course, but also the people who live in Virgins, because that's very close to Ada as well. So there's some overlap here and there, but I think that all of our numbers overall are down because of the pandemic, but we're seeing everybody come up, so it's good. I'm so sorry about that. Go ahead.
I just want to ask regarding, as John brought up, the Ada Library. A couple of years ago, Vanessa, we talked about, you might remember, we were on the cusp of doing a study to how would we revamp our library? Because it was a library designed in the 90s. Obviously in 2020, the library uses are a lot different. And we said, let's put that off and see what the impact of the Ada Library is, meaning will it draw a lot of people from our library? And maybe because of the pandemic, you can't tell yet, but have you seen much of that? Do you have a feel for that yet?
Yeah, I would say it definitely has made the demand for study rooms less heated, I guess. Here we have I think 5 study rooms, and they were constantly booked. We have regular demand for our study rooms still, but it has taken some of the edge off of the urgency. So we noticed that, and it also has sort of removed the likelihood that if we were going to do work on the library, we would necessarily place it in that area. Because we are noticing that people are willing to travel for those study rooms. We noticed too that people come to the Ada Library and the Cascade Library for slightly different things. So the Ada Library is beautiful. It has more of a community center and study feel to it than the Cascade Library does, but our collection is significantly larger, and our play spaces are bigger. So we're noticing that people come here because they want to browse a little bit differently than they would go to Ada. A lot of people are going to Ada or sometimes they go for programming and that kind of thing. But if they really want to take a look around and think they're going to get the item that they were looking for, a lot of times they'll come back to Cascade.
And the other thing is too, is that you have the Wisner Center here, and this is one of the premier big areas that's available in the system. So, and that's unique here. I mean, it's actually, I think it's the biggest. When they take these walls down, we can get a lot of kids in here and do a lot of crazy stuff.
So we can
And
do more
that's kinda
programs, different types of programs?
Yeah. We have some bigger programs that we're hoping to start. Once, I think we have something that we're scheduling in December, another big program kind of thing that we used to do. Hopefully the pandemic numbers will allow us to keep doing it, but we do have some plans to go back to doing things like that. And we're unusual, both because we have support from the township. We also have support from our friends at the library, and then we have the facilities to actually do it. So it's different than Ada.
Thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions?
For me.
You guys keep up the good work. Have a wonderful fall and a great holiday. I just authorized our employees to wear Halloween costumes the entire last week of the month. So if you see them wearing Halloween costumes, that's what's going on. Just so you know.
Yeah.
We're only a little crazy, but explanation at a time is always good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Article 5, public comments. Anyone wishing to speak, come to the podium if you're able. Please state your name and address for record keeping. Do we have anyone wishing to comment virtually, Ms. Brott?
Any of our Zoom participants would like to make a comment, if you are calling in, use *9. If you are on your phone or computer, use the raise your hand and I will come to you. We'll wait a few minutes and let it catch up. I think they're satisfied. There's no more, Supervisor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Article 6, approval of consent agenda. Is there a discussion or a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Shipley makes a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
It's a motion by trustee Shipley, supported by trustee McDonald to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Article 7, financial actions. Is there discussion or a motion to approve financial actions?
Make a motion to approve.
Support by Shipley.
So motion by trustee Kessel, supported by trustee Shipley to approve financial actions. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Article 8, we have no unfinished business tonight. Article 9, new business. Item 106, 2021, revocation of industrial facilities exemption certificate for personal property for Compatico. Ms. Corhorn, welcome.
Thank you. This is a public hearing tonight, and this is for Compatico to revoke their industrial facilities exemption certificate 2016-046. It's for personal property only. The certificate was granted in 2016 for a new facility at 5005 Craft Avenue. And the entire project back in 2016 was for personal property valued at just over $183,000 and real property valued at just over $2.5 million. And if you remember at the September 8th board meeting, we did transfer a Compatico real property certificate. So the real property part of this certificate to Sparks Belting, who moved into this space at 5005 Craft Avenue. And so the reason for the revocation tonight for the personal property is Compatico has gone out of business. So they are no longer around. And when this certificate was approved, it was approved for 12 years back in 2016. And as part of their approval, they did sign the property tax abatement agreement. And there's a clawback provision in that agreement. Basically, it states if the company's between 4 years and less than 6 years has transpired since the approval of the application, the township may require 50% of the abated ad valorem property taxes be repaid to the township. Over the, they were 5 years into their certificates. And during that time, we did collect $324.61 in personal property taxes on the ad valorem tax roll. So based on that language above, we could require them to pay back $162.30. And the remainder of all their reported assets fell under the essential services agreements, and they were exempt from the ad valorem tax capture. So with that, and with some direction from the board tonight on the $162.30, staff is recommending approval of the resolution to revoke certificate 2016-046 for personal property only.
Sandra, since Compatico is out of business, where are we going to collect it from?
That's a great question. I mean, there's nobody to collect it from. I don't know how you would get a hold of anybody to collect it from. So that's, I guess that's one of
So
the,
we might be taking an action and not be able to collect.
right. Whether you try to find some old,
Was that
you know,
Glenn Stiles' company, Compatico? Glenn Stile, was that his company?
I don't think so. I've got the application, but Glenn Style, does that name ring a bell? Yeah, I don't
He had
think-
property down there somewhere, Jim, but I don't know which parcel it's
So
on.
I thought his company was Compatico. I don't,
Did anybody move into the property, Sandra? Or is
So
it vacant?
Sparks Belting moved into their property.
Which we already had.
Which we
acted on before.
transferred that
Yeah.
real certificate for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
make
Yeah.
a motion to open the public hearing.
Support.
It's a motion by trustee Kessel, supported by trustee Shipley to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now in public hearing. Is there a motion?
I move to close public hearing.
Support.
It's a motion by trustee McDonald, supported by trustee Shipley to close public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. As far as item B, consideration of a resolution revoking the industrial facilities exemption, is there discussion or further discussion or a motion?
I move to revoke the certificate.
Support.
what did we want to do with the $162.30? Forfeit it or pursue collection?
I would recommend forfeiting it based upon what Jim already brought up. It's
Yep.
non-collectible, so you're wasting precious time trying to.
Is that your motion, trustee McDonald?
Yes.
So it's a motion by trustee McDonald, supported by trustee Shipley to revoke the industrial facilities exemption as stated in 106-2021B and also forfeit the $162.30. Clerk Slater, please call the roll.
Trustee Nordhook,
Yes.
trustee McDonald,
Yes.
treasurer Pierce,
Yes.
trustee Kessel,
Yes,
trustee Shipley,
Yay.
clerk Slater, yes, supervisor Lesbrunz.
Yes, motion carried. Item 107-2021, building department considerations, including fee update, additional staff position, wage adjustments, and the expansion of services in Plainfield Township. Welcome, Mr. Wilson. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you Supervisor Lesbrunz. The board's been provided with the complete proposal in the packet. It's been reviewed by committee and individually. Before I discuss those items, I'd like to make a few comments about the building department structure. It's often misunderstood. I think residents should know why the board would continue to support the building department on these items. These are unique intergovernmental agreements. That's the real reason for the efficiency and cost effectiveness that we provide. They're based on trust and mutual benefit of both parties. The scope is limited to the mandated construction codes. Each community maintains their own identity. And the facts about our operations illustrate the effectiveness. It's as noted by the high service level and low fees that I'll get to in a second. The vision for the department really needs to transfer seamlessly when elected officials change in our community and others. And recently I've had a lot of conversations with members of our board, and I appreciate their interest and willingness to kind of dig in and understand how and why things operate the way they do. If you back up a little bit, these agreements have been around for 30 years. The township board decided that a strong building department was essential for the residents and took a leadership role. We partnered with those neighboring communities and could provide service that neither one could do by themselves, and that's still true today. In my opinion, these partnerships are government at its best. We operate more efficiently when we work together. The agreements are simple. Both parties acknowledge the mutual benefit, hold each other harmless, and fees are adopted to cover the expenses and ensure that expected service levels are maintained without ever requiring any general fund dollars. Current staff are all dedicated, hardworking public servants. Morale is generally high and they're committed to the mission of the department. I'm honored to lead such a talented group of people. So these are interesting times. More people than ever question government at all levels. I understand this and agree that all government functions must be held accountable. The building department has and will continue to operate under the following, which is my understanding of the board's directives and those expectations of the other communities. We provide excellent service with a helpful mindset. We offer expertise to our residents and contractors. We're cost effective and efficient with our operations, provide complete transparency, and we provide consistent and ethical enforcement of the building codes without influence by or preferential treatment to any party. So with that as a guide, things I have on the agenda tonight. First one is the addition of Plainfield Charter Township Building Services. So they're an existing partner since 2012. We do the trades up there, and it's outstanding relationship. All the folks up there are excellent people. It would involve the hiring or acquisition of one of their employees. The agreement has been updated and reviewed by our attorneys and theirs with no issues. One of the criteria for expansion would be basically answering the question, does it benefit the residents of Cascade and the rest of our partners? And in this case, the answer is clearly yes. It does contribute to the other items that are on the agenda, the fee update and the wage adjustments. Moving into the fee update portion. That was last updated in 2009. The idea is to simplify the schedule. If you look at our old building permit fees, it's kind of a graduated scale that doesn't really make sense in today's with today's costs of construction. It was planned for 2023, but since we are initiating this expansion in Plainfield, we moved that up a year because their fees are quite a bit higher than ours at this time. And it didn't make sense to have a huge reduction and then a year later bump them up. So we wanted to provide some consistency there. When you did the research on the fees, we clearly provide a value to the residents. Even with the increase, which is proposed at $3.50 per thousand, we're still below the low end of the range. The other municipalities I looked at were in the $4 to $8 per thousand range for building permits. As part of that process, I went to all the partner communities and they've all are supportive of the update to the fee schedule. Those relationships are strong and our system is working. So one of the other things that has uncovered this year were the position and wage adjustments, the final item. The positions are already approved as part of building department's strategic plan of last year. But we did hire 3 people this year with anticipated retirements. Building inspectors are still extremely difficult to find. The market is very competitive. Other municipalities have job postings all the time. We have our staff being kind of recruited to other positions. So it's very important that we can hold on to them. They hold specific licensing it's requirements to do those inspections. It's a very limited market. So during that hiring process, we found that one of the people took a pay cut to come to us when we're analyzing the costs of bringing on this new person. It also indicated that our wages have fallen behind a little bit. And what I propose is to bring those to market or bring those up to market and stay competitive and give the department that flexibility that we need. That's going to be part of the 2022 budget that I'm working with Ben on. Basically, all I'm asking tonight on that issue is to support that request and allow the building department to stay nimble as we finalize those numbers. So the recommended action, approve the addition of the Plainfield Charter Township building expansion into building inspections, and the contract is attached in the, or is included in the with the agenda. Adopt the 2022 building permit fees as outlined, effective January 1. Support the position and wage adjustments as approved by, as I work out with Manager Swayze as part of the 2022 budget. And finally, just recognize that Cascade inspections is a necessary public safety function and acknowledge the mutually beneficial relationships with our partners and reaffirm your support of the building department, our operations and policies that require zero general fund or property tax dollars. With that, I'll take any questions or comments. So
I got a couple of questions. First of all, of course, I still don't fully understand why we can't have reduced schedules or fees for the residents of Cascade Township, but that's something else to be discussed down the road. You say that you hired 3 people based upon potential retirements coming up. Okay, and you must have some dates from these people when they expect to leave your payroll.
one is already gone and 2 others are forthcoming.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Lastly, what if, just what if, the building industry collapsed for some unknown reason? What's your plan for downsizing your group?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, we're minimally staffed to begin with to provide the service to the permits that are out there. But there certainly is, it's a complicated question because there's an open book of permits that are out there, right? We accept permit fees in advance for work that's going to be completed sometimes a year and a half from now. So we have an obligation to fulfill those requirements. So the department doesn't just close its doors, but we would have to maintain the staff to accommodate that amount of work. So
So chances are I'm not gonna walk in there if the building trades collapsed and find 6 people playing euchre.
Yeah, not a lot of euchre being played in the building department right now.
Fair enough. I'm very supportive of your
Appreciate that.
organization. You run top-notch organization, but these are questions that perhaps pop up in some of our minds periodically, especially us that are taxpayers, although I'd like to compliment you for not taking any of my tax dollars because you're self-funded.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
I have a couple questions. First of all, Brian, I have worked with you personally on a couple of things, projects I had going. I've worked with a lot of your inspectors personally. No issues whatsoever. You're a great manager. You do a great job. Your inspectors do a wonderful job. So that being said, I still have a problem trying to figure out the dividing line. Building inspections over here, totally separate from the people in the township. You're carrying a large balance for future expenses, but none of that money can be used by the people over here. It's all protected in your personal inspection department. So there's from what I can see, almost $2 million in that fund. And if we take on more work, expand government, which I don't like expanding government. If we expand government, raise rates, take in more money, where's the limit on that $1 million account? Well, how many millions can we put in there?
Well, I don't think there's a limit, but the way that's designed, it's to find that balancing act between the level of service that we want to provide the residents of Cascade and our partners, the fees that we charge, and the fund balance that we believe is appropriate to cover things like Trustee Shipley mentioned, that if it slows down and we have these obligations without new fees coming in, that's where it can get into the negative. So that's why, for me, it's a 2.5 to 3 times our expenses is what our target is for that fund balance.
Okay, so 5 years from now, we hit our target.
Mhm.
How do we stop it from growing?
Well,
Because the money can't come out, it can only be used for your department.
Right.
How do you use up the money to keep it from growing beyond 3 times expenses?
I think in that, if that was the scenario, that construction stayed on a straight up tear like it's been for the last 7 or 8 years, if that happens, which I haven't seen a 15-year period where that actually plays out, but if it does, then next time I come back to you, we'd be talking about reducing fees. There is not a goal, it is not an enterprise for making money. We are trying to thread the needle and provide that level of service with the right expertise of staff and
You do
find that
provide a
balance.
good service. I have no problems with that. My problems is you're going to have millions of dollars in this fund that's locked only for your department. Residents can't get any benefit out of the cash in the bank. They do get good service. They get next day service, sometimes same day service.
Mhm.
No problems about that. But they can't use $5,000 for river beautification or a play equipment in one of the parks or anything like that.
Yeah,
That's my problem, is the structure of your department, not you guys.
sure, but that's governed by state statute. So our regulating statute, Public Act 230, specifically says that the monies that we collect have to be used in providing that service. So that's what brings me to that whole balancing act of finding that right thing. Now, we want a certain amount of fund balance because Cascade has taken this leadership role.
So we do contracts with the different townships.
Mhm.
How long are those contracts for? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years?
They're perpetual.
So it's 1 year renewal.
No renewals. They're until canceled.
Okay. So I'm representing the people that live in the township. That's my goal. That's what I have to do.
I
You
understand.
have to do your side, I got to do my side.
I think we're on the same side.
Okay, so structure. That's my problem is the structure. I understand it's locked up under the state code. But is there something in that state code where Cascade Township over here on this side of the wall can put in a administrative fee to our partner townships that would go into Cascade Township's funds so we could use that for residents? Or is there a licensing fee for your building department to use our name that would be paid from your building department into our fund so that it could be used for a piece of play equipment in a neighborhood park or a river beautification? Is there anything in that act that gives the residents a financial incentive to keep the department?
No. The residents of Cascade get the same benefit, which is a significant benefit, as Ada or Grand Rapids Township, Lowell, East Plainfield, Virginia, all of our other partner communities. We get the same service. There's an economies of scale to having a certain size building department. And it's significant. Like in my opening comments, if the alternatives are much worse for the residents of Cascade. And I understand that's who you're looking out for, but the statute prohibits us from doing any of those type of things that you've discussed. And the benefits, you know, the full service department, the expertise of the staff, those are important things, and it's working. So,
Brian, I remember sitting down and having this discussion when we didn't have such a high fund balance. We had inspectors, but we had a decline. 2008 building went way down. We had a similar problem then of getting quality inspectors. We didn't want to lose the ones we had. And we talked at great length about that in the finance committee. And we thought, you know, one good thing that we've done is we've planned for those lean years. So we had the fund that could continue to keep those people on, knowing that it would turn around, which it has. Since 2008, the building has picked up a lot. The alternative, and back then we questioned the dollar amount because we share part of that fee with communities that we have our perpetual contracts with, so we don't keep it all. Now, you know, in doing such, if we did not have you, we would have to go out and hire that service, and that service would cost us, or the residents of the township, considerably more than it does now. There isn't a cheaper way to get the inspection service going private than it is through our own building inspection department. And we don't have any general fund dollars at all going to support you. You're self-sufficient. You support yourself. You've developed a surplus. You also paid your fair share of the cost of moving into the new building from that fund balance too. That's correct, right?
that's correct.
And you talked to us a year ago for planning for these retirements that John asked about. And you said with the competitive nature of building inspectors and code inspectors, you asked us for permission to hire those people before the new people retired, the old people retired.
Right.
And I think it's been excellent service that the building department has provided to Cascade and the surrounding communities. And I just want to personally thank you for the job that you've done. And I think the fund balance is appropriate. Because there come a time that in 2008, we saw it where I don't know, that balance was way down there. And we thought about what's going to happen. Do we have to lay people off? Because it's going to come back. So it may be higher now, but it's appropriately positioned for the future.
Thank you for your comments. It is a higher, the fund balance is a higher number now, but our expenses are more. So when you look at a ratio of what your expenses are, it does require us to have a higher fund balance. And that open book of permits that I mentioned is a higher number now. So it's natural that what a normal number is slightly higher. So, Tom?
Brian, that's not a comment. I think shared services, what the services that we also provide other municipalities makes a lot of sense. It's shared government. They save, we save, our residents, taxpayers save a lot of money, as Jim pointed out. But I think, and maybe this is a budget question, I don't know if it's for you or Ben, but for example, the new building, the buildings inspection department paid for a substantial piece of that and has expenses that it pays for itself. So we don't have to use the general fund. So in effect, with you paying what you do, that frees up money for Cascade and our residents. So in effect, it's an indirect way of saying we get that money for other things. And so, and again, the shared services, it's just smart government. Everybody doesn't have to duplicate the same electrical inspectors, plumbing inspectors, structural, whatever it may be. We're providing a service to them. We're paying them some fees back. They can keep their taxes lower. We keep our residents' taxes very low because of it. So I think it's a real win-win. But I think to answer Tim's question is in an indirect way, the residents do get the money back because of the fees that you have to pay for, like helping pay for the new township hall offices, et cetera, that we would have had to have paid out of other funds.
Yeah, and the township board, Ben and the township board have been great in working within that statute and having us contribute our share and being able to be transparent to the rest of our partners and say, yes, this is just our share. And we're not doing anything, we're acting appropriately with those funds. Because, remember, what Cascade residents are contributing to the building department is anywhere from a quarter, 25 or 30% of our permit revenues. Our other partners contribute the rest of those dollars. And we have an obligation to them. They trust us to provide the same service that we provide to Cascade to their communities. So, I asked you to put yourself in their shoes. What would you expect if it was the other way? And that's what we try to do. Sue?
I have a comment. I believe your department is doing a great job. I know that the different types of inspectors are extremely specialized. And I guess my concern is if we go mid-range, are we going to be able to keep them in terms of other communities also wanting to hire away our inspectors because you guys are so good? Cascade has a really good reputation in this building department. And I would be concerned that we might lose them if we don't charge enough.
To kind of coattail on Sue there, I've stated before, like our assessment department. I think that our township ought to keep quality people in our assessment department, our building department, and all those functions that could conceivably be combined and have Big Brother come down and do it for us. And that I'm uncomfortable with. So whatever it takes to keep quality people for Brian or the assessment department, I think we need to do.
Absolutely.
With minimal to no risk to the residents.
Correct.
The fees, do you propose to take along with this question, what you're proposing for an increase, is that going to be enough to keep our people and to hire the?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a modest increase. It is conservative. We could have been bolder and tried to figure out a number for a 10-year plan. But I don't know about your all's crystal ball, but after last year, mine's a little fuzzy. I think conservative is the right way to handle it. To Timmy's point, we don't want to collect more fees than we need. We're still trying to find that balancing act. And if I have to come before the board again in 5 years and make an adjustment either way, that's what we'll do.
Fair enough.
Okay.
You got my vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Wilson, too, for spending so much time with us explaining this kind of unique structure that we have.
Sure.
I'm comfortable supporting it with you being so willing to talk to us and make sure we're comfortable. I'm comfortable supporting Cascade's continued leadership role in it.
Excellent.
I make a motion that we approve what Brian has presented tonight in the staff position, wage adjustments, and expansion of service agreement to Plainfield Charter Township.
Shipley supports.
There's a motion by Trustee Kessel, supported by Trustee Shipley, to approve the addition of the Plainfield Charter Township Building Services and execute that contract amendment to adopt the 2022 building permit fee schedule effective January 1st, 2022. and also to adjust the position and the wage description as part of the 2022 budget. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Article 10, public comments. Anyone wishing to comment? Welcome. For record keeping, even though we start to recognize you, please state your name and your address.
Ken Vandercock, 7200 Layton. I was a plumber for 40 years. And we dealt with inspections all the time, state inspections, county and everything else. I mean, township and all. But is it Cascade Township in the business of running inspections for everybody? Let's hire on everybody. Let's go to Benton Harbor and tell them, hey, we'll take you all up here. Let's go every place. What are we taking on Plainfield for?
Would
Are
you
they
like me
running
to
out
respond?
of?
Sure, that's okay.
Yeah, so we just, as I was explaining to the board, there's an economies of scale to the building department. If you were a plumber and you were in one of these communities that had one plumbing inspector and he's on vacation or in a class or out sick, you don't get your inspection till the next day or the day after.
You had one day, and if they didn't do it, you were passed.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of communities deal with those delays in construction, waiting for inspectors. And by having these partners that we have a full service department where there's actually somebody you can call, you can get a question answered, they can, work out details with your project. That's the level of service that our board and our partners wanted to provide. So, but to your point about Benton Harbor or somewhere, we're not in the business of this. We're just trying.
How many municipalities or townships or whatever, how many are we inspecting for now?
Including Cascade, there's 7.
7? So it sure sounds like we're in the business of inspections. Why don't we just take on a whole half the state or something?
No, we're
And
not.
then
in the bus-
take that great big pot of money that you got sitting there and who knows what you're going to do with it.
we find, the comments that we get is most contractors like to have the same inspectors. And
Well, that was great. I really got along great with the plumbing inspectors that I had. I mean, there was no problem whatsoever. But I'm just wondering why Cascade Township has to be in the business of inspecting. We just bought $3 million worth of building over there. And we had to give it out, a bunch of it to you. Because we're in such a great big business now. Or am I all?
it's not a business.
It is a business. That's what you're doing. You're taking on more people. You want to hire more and you want to give more money out, but you've got a great big kitty sitting there. That's not coming to me, the resident of Cascade. I'm not getting penny one for it, am I?
If you have a plumbing permit or construction project, you have access to our whole department to handle what the state requires, the permitting and inspections that the state requires. We handle that rather than shipping you off to some private company or statewide inspector that has to drive from 2 hours away to do your inspection twice a week.
I don't care how far they drive,
Well,
but you want to hire on somebody from Plainfield now?
yes, we're going to expand our services in Plainfield to do.
So the
their
people that we
building as
have
well.
can't
Correct.
drive a half hour over there.
No, it's just to handle the volume of work.
Okay, it just seems to me like I'm not getting penny one or penny benefit for it. And he's collecting one heck of a lot of money. And it's sitting there and it's not coming back to the township. And we're just gonna hire on some more people. Why don't we take the whole state on then and just keep right on going? Why quit with this?
You understand it doesn't cost the taxpayers anything, what we're doing, right?
But I understand that you're taking on a bunch of money. You're taking in fees.
We're just trying to do it as efficiently as we can so that it's the,
But apparently you're doing it real efficient because you got $1.5 million in the budget, haven't you? Or in the kitty, in the bank?
Mr. Vandercook, I think these are all really good questions, but
Okay.
we're happy to talk more outside of the meeting.
All right.
Not to cut you
It just
off,
seems
but-
like we're We're in the business of inspections.
I'm happy to talk with you some more.
Good evening, Jeff Dion, 2984 Thornapple River Drive. Is this limited to one topic or can I bring up two quickly?
Any topic.
Okay, so first, I'm a licensed builder. I've dealt with the building department on my own and on a larger company side when I worked for a large local builder. I think the services offered are great. I think a couple comments were brought up that, you know, every builder is looking for consistency. And when you have somebody that's coming out and you're used to who you have, you know what their points or bullet points or hot points are in construction. And I think it delivers a better product for the community. So I think Brian's done a great job with that and with his service. But as a Cascade resident, as I sit back and I listen to all the points, I say that, you know, we keep taking on more. I just want to make sure that when I sit here, you know, I was here a couple months ago and heard all the retirements paid for and all this is paid for. And I know we bought the bill, you guys bought the building. And I just want to make sure that is really the fact, I guess. As a resident, I want to know that you guys are doing the right thing to make sure that this isn't a burden on our community. And that, yes, there should be an advantage to the community for doing it. I mean, you, Brian, you are in a business of inspections, and you know, whether we disagree on that or not, any business that makes a profit is in business. So I think we should just really look at how that's run and operated and make sure that, you know, if there's profits, let's invest it into things that benefit the community, lower building inspection costs. I mean, whatever it is, there should be more. The next subject I'd like to bring up is one that I've thought hard about doing. I guess there's some positives and negatives on it, but I'm just going to throw it out there. I ran for the board back at the last election. And in that election, I spent a lot of my time and money and effort running for this board. I lost by 10 votes. And my feeling is that I lost because some of the people on the board pooled their funds and created an illegal or wrongful pact. I went to the state of Michigan and filed some documents on that, addressing the violations of Michigan Campaign Finance Act. I finally heard back from the state today, kind of timely, got a document here I'm going to give to Grace. You can copy it and put it through for everybody. So I'll give you a copy of that.
30 seconds, please. Thank you.
Well, the long and short of it is that they didn't do a lot of investigation of the claim, but basically some of the members on this board pooled funds and did a large mailer, really eliminated what others running for the board could do. And in doing that, the state has come back and said certain people did nothing wrong, but that Mr. McDonald, after reaching the conclusion, the department took the endeavor to say that there's a violation. A violation did occur, that there was, you know, that they believe the violation occurred. They did actually didn't fine or do anything other than say that this can't happen again. So because we have people that have been on this board for numerous years, I don't think this should ever happen again. I hope that Grace, you hand this out and put it into the notes of the meeting today, that what the state took action on against Mr. McDonald, Kessel, Sue Slater, Rob Bean, Ken Pierce, basically went together and put together a large mailer without having the proper pack to do that. So hopefully you guys read through this and look at it. I hope it never happens again. And at the next election, we'll hope our funds are spent correctly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I correct one thing? No, Jeff, no funds were pooled. I paid for that website myself. Mr. Shipley was on it as well. Nothing was pooled. So I made a filing error. And I checked with the county a year ago. They told me how to correct it. That's what I did.
You corrected it after my petition was filed. You corrected it after I made a claim against you because you did it wrong. And you say it was your money, but we don't know because we didn't do a full audit of your accounting, and I have reason to believe that others contributed to that. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm just gonna say, Tom, do it the right way. You should have known better. You should have known better.
I did do it the right way. I made a filing error and it was corrected.
State ruled otherwise, sir. The state ruled otherwise. They reprimanded you here in this document for what you did.
I made a filing error. I admit it.
You made an error. That's why people like me got involved and ran for this board. And you'll see more of us doing it because we can't not enforce things equally in this community. And I've mentioned that numerous times on this board. People like me are upset and we're going to take action and we're going to move you away from these positions if you don't act in the right manner.
Jeff, nobody pooled money. So
Whatever.
Any other public comments? Mr. Whitley?
On a much lighter subject, Chuck Whitley, 5030 Sequoia Drive with the Cascade Thornapple River Association. And I had some points in that I wanted to talk about, and there's been some development since then, and so a little bit different here. But the first one was to thank the township for standing by the residents to avoid giving up the rights to future drawdowns. We just completed the drawdown over the weekend, came back in record time. Not exactly as they had said they were going to, but I personally think that getting it back up is in a timely manner. It can't hurt any clam that's stranded. They may appreciate it. So everything kind of went according to the adjusted schedule and whatnot. So as far as a 2-foot drawdown, and us not having to give up rights to future actions, we appreciate the township stepping in that manner. On the flip side of that, the just-in-time stuff is kind of wearing on the process. And I understand actions are underway to try to get ahead of it, for the future. So that is very, very good. We do have some contacts where we've done with potential vendors for the actual weed control and stuff. And they do have a timeline that says that you really need to get a contract in place so that they can file permits, they can get the approvals from the state, and everything can take, happen there. And so I am glad to hear that there is, some movement and that we will be getting this ad hoc board together very quickly, because we do have kind of a window here. And we certainly don't know what additional overhead is associated with working through the township. I'm assuming that there's going to be some, in some time there. And so just keeping that moving is a tremendous, concern, that happens, because it's really tough to make up time later on when you're dealing with outside regulators and such. So we really appreciate, you are the owner of the dam. You are forced to being the face when we deal with regulators. And so we're depending on you, and we really appreciate it when you do come through for us. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Keep up the communication. It helps on our end also. Anyone wishing to comment virtually?
If anyone would like to comment, if any of our Zoom participants would like to comment during this session, please raise your hand if you're participating via computer or on your phone. If you're on a telephone, then dial *9 to raise your hand, and I'll wait a few moments. I don't believe anyone has any more to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That will conclude this portion of the public comment session. Article 11, Manager Swayze, would you like to make any comments?
Yeah, so Mr. Whitley stole a little bit of my thunder, but I do have a couple items that I wanted to talk about. I have finished the quote unquote application for the ad hoc committees. Those will be sent out in mass over today and tomorrow, not only via the mail, but we'll use the River Association to help distribute those. We put on the website or whatnot. So the hope is that we will have some recommendations for the board at the next meeting for appointments.
You'll recall that there are a spot for a board member on each of those as well. So if any, I will be sending out that application to the board members, and if any of you guys are interested in serving on it, I'd recommend filling out that application as well. In addition with the drawdown, so the drawdown happened this past weekend. As Mr. Whitley mentioned, it filled in a lot faster than we had anticipated, and that's really related to the rains that come and go, and it's really hard to control the river flow. But one of the things that did happen this year is that our exemption permit from FERC requires us to coordinate with the regulatory agencies each year when we do our drawdown plan. And for the past 20-ish plus years, they didn't show any interest. And this year they did, and said that they would not support the drawdown unless it was reduced to a 2-foot level. Basically, in the aspect of making sure that we had some type of drawdown, we agreed to that, but in those letters reserved our right to apply for a 4-foot drawdown. So in anticipation of next year's drawdowns, we're already scheduling meetings, including our attorneys, on how do we move forward to ensure that we can go back to that 4-foot drawdown. So you guys will hear a lot more about that over the next couple months. And that's all I have.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Ben, are we coordinating at all with the Ada Dam side, with the residents on that side?
We do, yes. So we've been talking to them. My understanding from the resident or the association on that side is that they're not challenging the 2-foot drawdown, so they were subject to that for this as well. It sounds like they're fine with that, and they're going to move forward. Joe Engel is a part of that association, is also on our Parks Committee, so try to communicate with him on a regular basis. They've invited them to any of the meetings that we're going to have if they want to attend, and if they do decide they want to pursue the 4-foot drawdown again, to participate in that. But the sense I've gotten from them right now is they're going to stick with their 2-foot drawdown.
That's what I thought. I was just curious. Thanks.
Article 12, board member comments.
I got one. Always like to thank you gentlemen for coming tonight. Mr. Vanderclock, Mr. DeHaan, and Mr. Whitley. It's nice to see your faces here as usual. Notice that a lot of the pathways are being repaired. They put the final coat on Thornapple pathway, Tom. It looks really nice and level at both ends. And it's what the people want. And by golly, that's what the people should get. That's all I have.
Well, I want to take a few minutes to go through some positive things. Progress takes a lot of time, and there are a lot of connected issues that happen over years and I kind of like to review some of those, because I know there's been this feeling that the board in the past hadn't done a lot. The facts say that a lot has been done very successfully. And, the comment about that maybe we have kind of been stagnant, I don't think that's quite so true, because I went back and did a lot of research to see what's been done over the last few years that really relates to today and helps us today and is moving us forward. So I kind of just, you talk about benefits to the community. I think there are some real key benefits to the community that the community doesn't always see, because the things that we do take time. For example, the special assessment district, that was in process for about a year. Things that we've been working towards, like the fire department, that's taken years to get where we are today. So I just wanted to mention a few of the things that we've done, and I put these together. I can hand them out, and I will hand them out at the end. But back in 2016, I know we had some fire department issues, and we dealt with those. And I remember interviewing lots of different people to take the place of our chief, and we selected Chief Majors. And with his leadership, he completely reorganized the fire department, which was a substantial benefit to the township. We reduced our ISO ratings, which can also reduce homeowners insurance. So we've really got a world-class fire department that's really evolved over like the last 4 years, primarily again with the leadership of Chief Majors. In that same way, what Brian's done in the building department, I can't say enough about the building inspection, and that these services are not subsidized by tax dollars. It's a shared services agreement. It's smart government, it's good government, and everybody wins, and it keeps our residents' taxes lower as well. So that didn't happen overnight, but that's been happening over years. very similarly, we had a very difficult election in 2020, and Sue and her group had the greatest voter turnout in election history. They had to install new voting equipment that was selected by the county. That was a very tough thing, and that happened over time as well, but it was done very well. If we look at talking about shared services, things that we've done very wisely with the Kent County Road Commission. Over the past 4 years, we've invested $4.2 million in local road systems. That's been matched by the county, so that's $8.4 million. We probably have the best roads in the county in Cascade Township. We've done over 29.3 miles of local roads. So 40% of our entire road system has been redone. So those are things that again, it's amazing progress. We've had balanced budgets. And part of the reason we've had the balanced budgets and we're AAA bond rated is the work that Jim and Ken and Ben did to close the township defined benefits pension in favor of a pay-as-you-go defined contribution retirement plan. That removed us from having a lot of township pension liability, which would have been in the millions of dollars. That was kind of kicked down the road for 15 or 20 years. That is such a substantial savings to the residents and a benefit actually in the long run for our employees. But people don't see that. And that makes us a stronger township, both financially and from a township standpoint. Consequently, we've got the AAA bond rating. We're, I think, the only township in the state with a AAA bond rating, which means it's cheaper for us to borrow when we have to bond for the fire department. We will get the best rates that can be had. And we're the only municipality other than Kent County to achieve that AAA rating. So I think that's really positive. We've had to add staff for buildings and grounds because we added 278 acres of open space and parks over the years and did new boulevards and streetscapes. And I think the river residents, I think, are pretty happy because we authorized an environmental baseline study when Kent County Airport said they were going to directly put de-icing fluids into the river. We held that up and negotiated with them for 2 years, and they built a weir system, which filtrated a lot of the de-icing and runoff. And I think that was a real benefit for the residents, especially on the river. We expanded the Cascade Park, the recreation park, and put in the first special surface. So children or people with mobility issues could easily use the park, as well as we added tennis courts, basketball courts, pickleball courts, and the dog park, which was a great benefit. Regarding the pathways that are just being redone, we put together a resident committee for pathways, and that committee created a resident survey to figure out where should we expand park or pathways and how should we expand them. And therefore it passed unanimous or very overwhelmingly. So those decisions were made on resident input, which I think was really important. And when we did our 10-year master plan, we had several resident input sessions. And we brought the YMCA to Cascade Township, which at $0 put a world-class facilities in the township. One of the things we did for transparency is we put together this managing a growing and vibrant township to exactly explain to residents how their taxes are used, how we compare against 16 other municipalities, which is very, very favorably. We have very low operating costs in the township. Our taxes are actually very low, and how they're used is shown in this flyer that was sent to every household in the township. So if you really want transparency, I think this document was one of the best, most transparent documents we've ever done. So we also did a Cascade Community Design Day. I found in my notes back in 2018 to involve the residents. And I think that's also really important. And we're continuing to do that today. I think we're really listening to the residents. In 2018 and 19, we did the facilities and services study, and we brought in residents and asked, what are your priorities? Their priority number 1 was the fire station 1. Their priority 2 was the township hall. 3 was emergency services, and 4 was a township center. And we had over 600 respondents in that survey. And we're almost going right down the list of doing what the residents asked. So we're following that survey. And one of the things that they said was decouple the fire station and the township hall, which we did. We understand there's a lot of concern back 4 years ago when there was talk of a $7 million township hall. That never happened. We spent $1.4 million, not $7 million. And the entire thing was budgeted or forecasted for 3.5 million. We spent 2.45 million over 18 months. So considerably less than what we had thought about. So again, we've got a documented plan for the fire station. We've been doing all we can, and I know there's a big push on now, and I agree with Grace, for more resident input and communication. We invested in water and sewer utilities, and we even waived the hookup fees for utility connections for residents, so we could encourage hookups to water and sewer. We expanded the Cascade Cemetery. That's something we had promised since the 1980s to do. So we would deliver quality burial sites at no cost to Cascade residents. So that's been delivered. And we, of course, purchased Tuffy Muffler to expand Castle Park, which is for the public and for the public use. And the public complained for a lot of years that, hey, this is a gateway to the township. This is kind of an eyesore. Can we do something there? And we're in the process of doing that now. So a lot of these things aren't seen by the residents because they happen in slow increments, but they're connected over time. So I think a lot of positive thing happens, but a lot of it happens behind the scenes, not only by the board, the planning commission, the DDA and others, but also the staff, which I think we have a great staff and they've done a great job helping us provide benefits to the residents. So I just want to bring some of these up. I've got this list. I'll hand it out. And Ben, if you could just, I didn't have it in time, put in the packet for this week. Maybe you can put it in the next week's packet, please. So sorry for all those comments, but I just wanted to accentuate some of the positive that's gone on and show how it's all connected through things that we've done over the years.
Any other comments? Your peers?
I just want to go on record as saying I did not receive over $5,000 in campaign contributions from the Rotary Group, as did Mr. Dion and 4 other candidates. If you want to look at compliance with the regulations, look at the Kent County website under campaign finance and see how the rest of us complied with the state laws. Thank you.
I make a motion to adjourn and go home and watch Hogan's Heroes.
Support.
It's a motion by trustee Shipley to adjourn, supported by trustee McDonald. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.
Hogan's Heroes really on, John? Yep.
Thank you.
When I was a kid, I watched that show.
My husband was watching it the other day.